Live from Utah's first TV station, ABC4 News celebrates 75 years.
And welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. I'm Emily Flores.
And I'm Courtney Johns. We begin this half hour in Salt Lake City, where Utah's lawmakers have gathered to kick off this year's general legislative session.
Today marking the first day of the session, which is set to last until March 3rd, representatives tackling some of the biggest issues facing the state, including transgender health care, cutting taxes, and domestic violence. Those just some of the issues at top of mind for the next month and a half session.
ABC4 News is bringing you live team coverage today of what leaders have planned for Utah, including tackling the drought. So we have meteorologist Nate Larson live from the Great Salt Lake, looking at how lawmakers plan to fix the lake's record low water levels.
Yes, but first let's go to ABC4's chief political correspondent and anchor Glenn Mills, who is live from the Capitol Rotunda. He's been talking to some of our state leaders to find out what they have planned for this year. Glenn, we'll send it out to you.
Hey, you guys, by the time this is all said and done, thousands of bills will be made public. Lawmakers will consider hundreds of those, and hundreds of those will even pass into new laws. A couple of them even gathering attention before the legislative session gets started. A couple of those sponsored by Senator Todd Weiler that we're going to break down. Senator, great to have you with us. You have two bills we've been talking about. Let's get right into the first one. That would be age verification to access pornography here in the state of Utah. What is the need you see there, and why are you bringing this up?
Well, it's a continuation of our effort of trying to protect children from hardcore pornography. It's already illegal for kids to watch it. It's illegal for adults to show it. So it's just one step. Louisiana passed a similar bill recently, and so there's been a push to do that in Utah as well.
And are there studies showing that's an issue here in our state?
Oh, I think it's an issue everywhere, but yes, absolutely.
So what will this bill do specifically?
It'll require someone to show a government ID or something to access Pornhub or one of the other adult sites.
Mm-hmm. And in the end, the goal here is to do what?
Is to, let kids be kids. And I mean, if adults want to view pornography, that's an adult issue, but kids, 12-year-olds, 11-year-olds, they shouldn't be looking at that material.
And of course, 20 years ago, this is something we weren't even talking about, but it's just become so much more accessible.
It's effervescent. It's everywhere. Mm-hmm. And we realize kids are going to see porn, but it's going to. I mean, and there's ways to circumvent it, but it's another speed bump, I think, in that process, especially for young kids who may not know about ways to filter out that verification.
So when you talk about this being a step to what you've been working on in this arena, is there more to come down the road?
That's to be determined. I ran the legislation that created or declared pornography to be a public health crisis in Utah. So this is really another step on that effort. So.
And what are you hearing from your colleagues as far as, are they open to it? How do you see this playing out?
I think it'll have a tremendous amount of support.
Okay, let's move on to another big bill you're working on, and that would essentially create a domestic violence database for calls that come in. Of course, we have seen really sad and horrific issues popping up in the state of Utah that this is based off of. Start off by telling us what exactly this would do.
Well, so right now, if an officer responds to an intimate partner domestic violence situation, they'll often assume that this is the first time that either the victim or the alleged perpetrator has been involved, and there's really no way for them to know. Maybe a different police officer responded in a different city the day before or 2 days before, and so this would give them a quick way of finding out, oh, this is the 7th time that the police have been called with this particular perpetrator. Gabby Petito's family, the girl that was tragically murdered, they reached out. They're in support of this bill. They wanted to ask me how they could help it. They believe something like this could have maybe saved Gabby's life.
Talk about potential constitutional issues here when you're keeping a database when someone isn't necessarily charged with a crime.
Yeah, so I don't think that the collection of data is a problem. I think there could be constitutional issues down the road if the database is misused by law enforcement or by judges. So we're going to try to put in all those safeguards there.
You mentioned the family of Gabby Petito, but we've also had local cases. Lieutenant Governor Deidre Henderson, her cousin, was murdered allegedly by a former partner. Talk about how locally we are seeing this impact as well.
Yeah, so I've been working with Lieutenant Governor and her distraught relatives. We feel like the case of Mandy's murder really showed some gaps in the system that we need to close.
Okay. Senator Weiler, we'll be following those bills and more throughout the legislative session. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks so
much.
much.
All right.